In the quiet little town of Pineview, Texas, life moved at a gentle pace. People waved at each other from their porches, kids rode bikes down safe streets, and everyone knew everyone by name. But one sunny afternoon in May, that sense of peace was shattered in a way no one in Pineview would ever forget. Rachel Parker had just finished setting up balloons for her nephew's birthday party in the backyard of her mother's house. The smell of burgers grilling wafted through the air as laughter echoed from the porch. Her 6-year-old daughter, Emily, was playing by the garden fence, chasing bubbles barefoot. She wore a yellow sundress, her hair tied in pigtails, and her giggles sounded like sunshine. Rachel glanced at her daughter every few minutes. Then, just for a moment, she turned a hand to drink to her brother. That one moment was all it took. When she looked back, Emily was gone. At first, she thought Emily had gone inside the house for juice or maybe to play with the dog. But after a few minutes of calling her name and getting no answer, Rachel felt something cold crawl up her spine. She ran into the house, shouting, opening every door, checking every room. Emily wasn't there. The backyard, the bushes, the garage, nothing. Panic set in. The party guests stopped laughing. Her brother called 911. Neighbors poured out of their homes. Within an hour, the entire block was searching for a little girl who had seemingly vanished into thin air. The Pineview Sheriff's Office launched a full-scale search. Volunteers combed through fields. Police dogs followed scent trails. Helicopters hovered overhead. For 3 days, there was no sign of Emily, no dropped toy, no footprint, no clue. The town buzzed with fear. Local news channels aired her photo nonstop. Rachel didn't sleep. She couldn't. Her baby was missing, and she had no idea if she was alive. Meanwhile, across town, an elderly widow named Martha Ellis sat in her modest home, sipping tea and listening to the soft whistling of her green parrot Buddy. Buddy had been her companion for 12 years. He mimicked everything: the sound of her microwave, the intro to her favorite game show, and sometimes even the jokes her late husband used to tell. Martha loved the bird dearly. He kept her company in her quiet days. But lately, Buddy had started saying something strange, something he had never said before. "No, don't cry, Emily, don't cry. No, no, no." The first time Martha heard it, she froze. She wasn't sure she heard it right. Then he said it again. "Don't cry, Emily. I told you to shut up." Martha stared at the bird. She didn't know anyone named Emily. Where had he learned that? Parrots, she reminded herself. Pick up anything. Maybe from the TV. Maybe someone passing by. Still, it gave her a chill, especially when she remembered the news. Martha's daughter, Linda, came to visit 2 days later. Martha told her about the strange phrases Buddy had been repeating. She even played a recording on her phone. Linda's face went pale. "Mom," she whispered, "that's the name of the girl who's missing. Emily Parker." They both stared at the bird, who tilted his head and said again, "No, Emily. Stay in the box, or I'll lock you again." Linda couldn't ignore it. She searched the missing persons article online. When she saw Emily's face, those same blonde pigtails, she felt her stomach drop. The next morning, they drove straight to the sheriff's office. The officers were polite at first, slightly amused. A talking parrot with a clue? Sounded like a tabloid story. But then Buddy spoke. Loud, clear, repeatedly. "No, Emily. You stay in the box, or I'll lock you again." Everyone in the room froze. One officer stood up and walked out. Another called for the lead investigator. When the parrot added, "Don't tell Mommy, or I'll hurt you," no one thought it was a coincidence anymore. The detectives asked Martha, who had been in her house recently. She mentioned her nephew, Ronnie, her late sister's son, who had been staying with her for a few weeks. He was quiet, stayed in the garage, barely spoke. He had left suddenly a few days ago after an argument over money. Ronnie had a record. He'd been in prison for robbery. There were no charges for anything violent, but parole records showed he had been back in Pineview recently. He had access to a car. And now, because of Buddy, he was a suspect. With a warrant in hand, officers traced him to a rural cabin about 40 minutes outside of town, a place he used to hide out years ago. The cabin looked abandoned, overgrown grass, no lights, but the lock on the front door was new. Inside, the place was filthy, bottles, food wrappers, a mattress on the floor. There was no sign of Emily. Then one deputy noticed a rug, nailed down in the corner of the room. Underneath it, a trapdoor. They opened it, slowly, weapons drawn. Inside was a tiny storage pit. And in the dark, huddled in the corner, was a little girl, wrapped in a blanket. "Emily," one of them shouted. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She just stared up, wide-eyed, frozen. She had been down there for 4 days. The next few hours were a blur of sirens, helicopters, and tears. Rachel collapsed when she saw her daughter in the hospital, but Emily was okay. Weak, dehydrated, but alive. Ronnie was caught trying to cross the state line that night. He confessed quickly. Buddy had overheard everything. His threats, his lies, his cruelty. The news exploded. Parrot helped solve kidnapping case was the headline everywhere, from CNN to the New York Times. Local news stations did full segments. Talk shows asked for interviews. Pet influencers reposted the story. Even comedy shows did skits about it. Martha and Buddy became overnight celebrities. People sent letters from all over the country. A TV station offered a segment called Buddy the Brave. A toy company even wanted to make a plush version of the bird that said, "Don't mess with Emily." But Martha declined most offers. She wasn't looking for fame. All she cared about was that a child was saved, and somehow, her bird had helped do that. Rachel, holding her daughter's hand in the hospital room, asked to meet Martha and Buddy. When they met, Emily didn't speak much. Trauma takes time. But she looked at Buddy with wide eyes and said softly, "That's him. That's the bird who scared the bad man." Tears fell from everyone in the room. Rachel knelt down and kissed the bird gently on the head. "Thank you, Buddy," she whispered. "You gave me back my world." Back in Pineview, life tried to return to normal, though nothing would ever be quite the same. Emily's case became a cautionary tale, a community rally, a national discussion. But more than that, it became a story of impossible hope, a tale of how a small-town woman and her talkative bird did something no one saw coming. Today, Martha runs a tiny YouTube channel where she posts clips of Buddy repeating wholesome phrases. "Be brave like Emily," and "Good job, officer." Her videos get hundreds of thousands of views. Schools invite her to speak. People comment, "This bird is a hero." But for Martha, it isn't about views or likes. It's about the sound of a girl's laughter on the news again, the voice of a mother who can finally sleep, and the knowledge that in a world filled with tragedy, sometimes, just sometimes, heroes have feathers and know exactly what to say.